A very warm welcome for the second time this season to Circuit Paul Ricard at Le Castellet for another dose of the Michelin Le Mans Cup. Now, those paying close attention towards the start of the year may well have noticed that this was due to be a race held in Spain, in Catalonia, at Circuit de Barcelona. Sadly, the situation in that part of the world connected with COVID-19 means we can't be racing there for round 3. And then during the Spa weekend, a press release was rather hastily issued to say we would be returning to the south of France. Well, no complaints as far as I'm concerned. It's a beautiful place to go motor racing. Spectacular day weather-wise yesterday. A little bit more iffy, I would say, throughout the course of today. But we will get onto those matters in due course. My name's Johnny Palmer, delighted to be joined by Bruce Jones throughout the whole of today. And we can say that because Michelin Le Mans Cup and the European Le Mans Series all going to be competed on Saturday, as was the plan for Barcelona. So it does make things different enough, I would say, from the start of the season on the 18th of July for these cars, because the ELMS going to go into the night and potentially going to be rather wet as well, with maybe some rain in the air. I think we're in store for a cracking day's racing, Bruce Jones.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, Johnny, busy is good, and I do love Circuit Paul Ricard. When we were here a while back, the weather was as you'd expect for the south of France. Now it's as you'd expect from Pas de Calais, or perhaps Northern Europe has arrived here. It's cooler, way cooler, but there was rain overnight. There was rain at about 7:30 this morning. Right now, I think it's going to stay away for at least another hour, but not the conditions we're used to. But the drivers had loads of track time yesterday. I'm actually quite a big fan of a solid day of qualifying and racing. That's what we've got with Michelin Le Mans Cup and the European Le Mans Series. And cars will be on track in about 2.5 minutes. So let's see who comes out on top. But we have an interloper this weekend that in the 2 practice sessions yesterday, Team Virage topped the timesheets. Julien Falquero and a driver in inverted commas, Steve Brooks. I was wondering, is that Steve Boltby Brooks, who races historic cars in England, or not? But he's also down for Le Mans, so he's a driver with intent. But he's Steve Brooks with an F next to his name. That is a French racer, or on a French licence. Have to get to the foot of that. But when we arrived yesterday, he was getting into the car to go onto the circuit. We will track that down through the course of today. But looking out over the circuit, it's actually the good thing is the clouds appear to be lifting a little bit, Johnny. So we do have dry surface at the moment, but it's not the sort of conditions we expected. But all fair and square for everyone. And they've got 15 minutes for each of the 2 sessions, the GT3s and then, of course, the GTEs, and then the P3s going out later. And let's see who comes out on top. But it's particularly in the GTE class, it's Ferrari's almost all the way, bar the Porsche we've just been looking at.
Yes, it is, which returns for some action. The PZ Aubert Zurichsee by TFT Porsche for Nicky Leutwiler and Julien Andlauer. Really excited to see how the young Frenchman gets on for today. So I think this dry track should be cherished because the weather forecast somewhat patchy for the rest of the day, really. Potential for showers to arrive at about 10 o'clock local time, just about to hit 9:30 for this first session of the day. One of the other stories in the Drivers' Championship for GT3 is that there's no Giacomo Pacini this weekend to join Rino Mastronardi. We understand neither of the Pacini brothers here because of family reasons, and that means that Rino Mastronardi will have another teammate in the number 8 car, a certain Nicholas Nielsen, who is a Ferrari factory driver. So you kind of take one very good Ferrari driver and replace with another. The Dane, former winner in the ELMS at GTE level, and he's become a gold since last season rather than the silver, and will join Rino Mastronardi. Does mean that Giacomo Pacini probably can't be GT3 champion and therefore go to Le Mans with Iron Lynx. He's done that previously with Kessel Racing. Here is Eduardo Freitas, our Portuguese clerk of the course, race director.
Qualifying session for GT3 has started. Be advised that T8 you will find a slippery track flag. The marshals have been treating some oil which was found overnight, so you will find some yellow and red flags a little bit spotted around the track, so the drivers know where the track may be slippery.
So slippery surface flags, the red and the yellow striped flag to warn of that.
Yeah, but which corner? It's at Scene, the fastest corner on the circuit. As we were walking across this morning, I saw some flashing lights out there. I thought they were just checking the corner conditions. I didn't realise they were putting down cement dust and checking it out. But the drivers have had a day session and a night session here, so they're getting used to the circuit. They've been here already this year, but of all the turns, Turn 8, Scene. It's one of those corners. I was very excited in rather pathetic fashion yesterday because we drove it through the village of Scene. I went, I'd never been to Scene before, and I like corner names actually being named after local locations, so added another little tick in my scrapbook of life.
You have seen Scene, and the daunting corner at the end of a very long straight, the Mistral straight. In previous seasons, we have used the chicane about 2/3 of the way down, but it is foot to the board all the way now into turn 8, and well, in order to make this round significantly different from the opener, I was all for going in the completely opposite direction to make it an anti-clockwise circuit. I'm told you can't do that, although the question was asked by other people at organisation level whether it might be homologated in order to do so, but I think the paperwork would have had to start a good 12 months prior. So it's the same configuration. I know there are many here at Paul Ricard, but the same one as we were using at the end of July. But for the ELMS cars, much later on today, the prospect of racing into the darkness, and it'll be properly dark as well, as we judged last night.
Yeah,
quarter to 9?
Yeah, quarter to 9, it was what you call properly dark. Just the thought of running this circuit in opposite direction, the thought of the first turn, Virage du Pont, that really, it would be a really, really tight left-hander, about 140 degrees, feeding almost immediately into what would be called turn 2, but it's turn 13, so really tight, twisty part. I think we'll stick with it how it is.
All right.
Now, Johnny, another thing we need to point out, we mentioned Nicholas Nielsen brought in place of Andrea Piccini with Rino Mastronardi, in place of Giacomo Piccini. Andrea Piccini is also out of the cockpit this weekend, and Matt Griffin, therefore, is driving the second of the Iron Lynx. Ferrari sharing with Claudia Schiavone, so a little bit of shuffling around, yes. But for drivers like Matt, double the track time. It's going to be a busy day. Qualifying in this, qualifying in the LMS, racing in this, and then racing in the LMS. He'll have earned his corn by the end of the day.
And it was a relatively late call-up for the Irishman as well. I think he had a call on Wednesday night to the invitation to Iron Lynx. He was very grateful of that, certainly. So Porsche, we grab sight of first of all, the returning PZ Aubert Zurichsee sponsored car, but run by the outfit TFT. And by the way, this is a 15-minute session. We've already had 3 of those minutes, and the early part of this chunk of time disappears very quickly because it includes your out lap and then your first flying lap, which might have to be struck off because, remember, track limits are closely observed, particularly here at Ricard. The nature, the history of this place, more so a test track than a racing venue. I know it's obviously back on the Formula 1 calendar, though, in recent years. And also, celebratory year for Circuit Paul Ricard, a half century having been built in 1970, so great that we can celebrate that with 2 visits for these ACO championships. Through the dust, I noticed there, that's been laid down at turn 8 to soak up that spillage, so that's certainly not going to help grip. The rest of the track, very grippy indeed. That dark asphalt that was laid last year before at most, so it is very punishing on tyres. As we discovered actually towards the end of the earlier ELMS race in July, tyres going bang towards the end of stints seems to be less of an issue with this particular compound of Michelin, and it's run across the board, remember, the Michelin Le Mans Cup, so a one-make tyre.
What do you not want to do in a 15-minute qualifying session? Lose your lap time because of exceeding track limits. Yeah. Already seeing a couple of cars, including the lone Porsche, Nicky Leutwiler. He's top of the timesheets at the moment. By 4.4 seconds, but that time's no good, I'm afraid. It's been thrown away. Turn 7, the corner coming onto the Mistral straight, is the one where clearly the drivers are running wide in particular. No one will be running wide at Scene, we've talked about that, because that's where the oily patch is under the concrete dust. So for all these drivers, having had that initial warning, Johnny, about Scene, you can imagine that their outlet really would have been with a lot of attention paid on that, and maybe a rather sort of gentle first flyer, but it will be improving through the course of the session. But we have already eaten up 5 of the 15 minutes, so it is about getting it to the sharp end and not dropping the ball. Luckily, not too much traffic out on the circuit, so you can't blame your best lap being ruined by somebody else.
all 6 cars have made it into the session, and by the way, the drivers that need to take part in this particular part of the day, designated because they are the bronzes, although they're joined by either a silver or a gold co-pilot. The more experienced and generally quicker drivers not permitted into this session. That's a really nice twist, I think, and it means that we often witness a session that gets quicker and quicker as the gentlemen drivers, should we say, in inverted commas, get more and more used to the current conditions and more used to their cars as well. So this car, as I've already mentioned, being driven by Niki Leutwiler. We've got Rino Mastronardi in the number 8 championship leading Iron Lynx Ferrari. Claudio Schiavone left Spa rather red-faced, particularly after what happened at the start of the Michelin Le Mans Cup race. The accident in the ELMS event, not his fault, and that went to the clerk of the course, judged to be fault of Will Owen, actually, in his prototype as he overtook. But yes, plenty of weaving on the installation lap for Schiavone, which resulted in contact with Broniszewski's Ferrari and the number 77 car into the barrier very heavily indeed. That car's been fixed and is once again being driven by the Italian in this session. Michael Broniszewski, the aforementioned Polish driver, in the 74, John Hartshorn in 50, and Murad Sultanov in the 67 car. All those last 3 Ferraris are from Kessel Racing, as there's a change at the top, briefly, because Niki Leutwiler did go there and has had a time deleted for the number 2. Yes.
He's had lap 2 and lap 3 deleted, so effectively his first and second flying lap. So he is now 5th out of 6. So it's the 2 Iron Lynx Ferraris at the top, but I think we're waiting for the number 77, yes, to be demoted. Suddenly just had a lap time taken away, so he's fallen. That's Claudio Schiavone. You're just talking about him, Johnny. He was first, naughty boy, down to 3rd. So it's Iron Lynx still at the top. No, it's not. It's Michel Broniszewski now goes top for Kessel Racing. That's the number 74 entry. And picking up the pace. Safe pair of hands, Michel Broniszewski. In so many years, Johnny, racing a Ferrari.
Broniszewski a minute ago, though. Was that on the very quick lap? If so, he ran out wide, but that was a wiggle caused by the lack of traction underneath his Michelin tyres at Senior Corner, which is a full commitment part of the circuit, as we know, but there's been some cement dust laid down to soak up the oil from earlier on. So that has certainly didn't help Broniszewski. No hint that time will be deleted just yet. Might not have been the 159.567 that happened on, though. So he is out front by almost 3/4 of a second from the Murad Sultanov Kessel Racing Ferrari, number 67. So the Russian driver sharing with Andrea Beliki, and they are currently 2nd in the championship. And Rino Mastronardi, who leads the championship, different co-driver for Rino this weekend, 3rd in the standings currently. But on this lap, with an absolute best Sector 1, he's going well through Sector 2 as well. And now through the tricky, technical final part of the circuit, Virage du Lac, Virage du Pont, to end the lap and stream across the line. We're still waiting for Mastronardi to do that, but Niki Leutwiler has just completed a lap in a 157.2, and that takes him well clear into provisional pole. 2.3 seconds faster than Michael Broniszewski. Was that lap time too good? Yes, no, hang on a minute, Rino Mastronardi's gone even faster. So, beg your pardon, I thought Leutwiler had that time deleted. He hasn't, and Rino Mastronardi's found a further 7/10. This is what I mean about having bronzes in this session. They are finding time with every single lap, Bruce.
Oh, they absolutely are. Last lap, each and every one of the drivers out there improved on their previous laps. So Mastronardi leading from Leutwiler, Schiavone in 3rd, Broniszewski 4th, and Murad Sultanov and John Hartshorn bringing up the rear. There's a big spread of times. In fact, John Hartshorn 7 seconds down on the pace, but Mastronardi really starting to wind it up. You'd have to say, in the world of bronze, he's got a hint of silver about him in terms of just all those years of racing experience, and certainly using it to very, very good effect at the moment. Fastest by 7/10 of a second, but who's going to hang it all together? Who, more to the point, is not going to run wide out of turn 7? That's the corner onto the Mistral Straight, where they're all getting pinged at the moment. The latest car to lose a time was 67, was Murad Sultanov, so he's got to try harder. The clock, though, Johnny, just over 5 minutes remaining.
And Rino Mastronardi really has been the qualification specialist to this point. 2 pole positions have been up for grabs, and the number 8 car has bagged them both. So this could be the hat-trick for Rino Mastronardi. Different teammate it may well be, but another point potentially going his way as far as his championship challenge is concerned. The Porsche's very slow, and was that a line? of something being dropped, or was that just no, it's picking up speed again now. I think the problem was it was running over earlier spilt oil, and it looked like it was dropping out of the Porsche. It was a spin, in fact. Sorry, missed that first time around. So the rejoin meant that the car was very slow. There's that line of something that's been dropped on the inside of the double droite towards the end of the lap. But just potentially flat-spotted tyres for that Porsche. It can continue in the session. 4.5 minutes to go. Rino Mastronardi due across the line now in the number 8 Hublot-sponsored Ferrari, and not further improvement that time. A 1:59 flat, which is about 2.5 seconds away from his best as Iron Lynx look on.
What's really striking me is the story of Nicky Leutwiler's session. He's had 3 of his 4 flying laps removed from him, and on one of those he spun for good measure as well. But he's still second. He's still right in there. In fact, when I say second, I mean third, because Michel Bronicheski has just gone to the top for Kessel Racing. He's now 7/10 clear of Mastronardi, who in turn is 7/10 clear of Nicky Leutwiler. The rest a second or so behind. Claudio Schiavone continues to chip away, picking on the pace, but Michel Bronicheski had that big moment on what was his previous best lap. Now he's nailed it even more. So 1 minute 55.8 seconds, fastest in 2 of the 3 sectors. And, how low will he go? Will he get down to the low 1 minute 55s? That'd be a very, very good time indeed. I think track conditions also improving, Johnny. I think that slipperiness at turn 8 or their confidence in the corner as the level just gradually improves. But with just 6 cars, it's quite difficult to really clear up a section of circuit that's been oily.
Yeah, and very green track surface after some overnight rain as well. That'll take some time just to get a racing line back again. Rubber laid down after some of that will have been washed away. So down to second fastest, Rino Mastronardi, and 7/10 to find on Michel Bronicheski in the number 74 Ferrari, arriving back here at Ricard after 2 races already. 4th in the championship, the number 74. On 18 points. Does mean, though, that there are extra seconds to soak up come the pit stop in the race later on today. And that applies to the top 5 in the championship. Extra time, 21 seconds no less, for this car, additionally to the 150 seconds that you have to do anyway in the pit stop, a minimum reference pit stop time, but there are extra chunks of time as, if you like, success penalties for doing well in the championship. 2 minutes and 20 seconds to go. If you cross the line with a couple of seconds left on the clock, you'll be able to complete that lap as well. But the fastest Ferrari out there, Michel Bronicheski, showing signs of potential improvement. This is going to be close, actually. A personal best through sector 1. In the end, he doesn't improve, but he's only 2/10 shy. It's a 1:56, pretty much dead there for Michel Bronicheski. And he'll get possibly this lap and one more.
Yeah, should squeak it by about 2 or 3 seconds getting across the start-finish line. But again, nice tidy lines through turns 1 and 2. Then you get that really testing sequence, turning into turn 3. Front end not wanting to play the game at all, snaking a bit under braking. Turn 4 follows immediately. Then turn 5, and I'm quite good at this number order. Then goes to turn 6. At that point, you get a very different feel. You're now starting to prepare for your line through turn 7 to sweep on the Mistral straight and come up the hill. So if you get a good exit from 6, get the speed up early and can pick your line into 7, you're laughing. But so many drivers have been running off. The latest driver to go wide at turn 7 was car 77. That's Claudio Schiavone. He's down in 4th place at the moment, but everyone pushing to limit. But that is the corner that everyone in the subsequent ELMS qualifying session will know full well is being watched very seriously indeed. But a quick line out of there and you benefit the whole way up to double droite.
A little bit wide out onto the curves for John Hartson as he makes his way onto the Mistral straight, but tidying things up then onto the straight itself. So this was John a moment or 2 ago, and yeah, plenty of curb, all 4 wheels properly over the white line, so that will have been noted, I'm sure. As into Virage du Pont, the final corner of the lap. Again, the touch wide on the exit, might just get away with that. Rino Mastronardi. Will it be an even better time than he's managed so far? Yes, takes him to the top. But as I say, slight question mark as to his exit out of the corner. Tricky to tell from that angle whether all 4 wheels had left the circuit. But for the moment, a 1:55.6 is staying there. No hint of it being deleted.
And no hint that Bronicheski, who's got time for one more lap, he's got about 10 seconds left in the session. He won't improve on this latest lap. He's 0.136 of a second in arrears, but maybe this is his best shot now. So into the final minute there, 15 minutes completed. Let's see what the order is at the checkered flag. It's Rino Mastronardi from Michel Broniszewski and Niki Leutwiler. So one Porsche alongside those two Ferraris in the top 3 positions.
And Broniszewski's Ferrari was really squirming under brakes. It's doing the same again at Virage L'Hotel, so he's really on the limit. This is a lap that he's built up to, bear in mind, across 15 minutes, and is now really pushing. The tyres won't be at their best, having given ultimate performance probably for laps 2, 3 and 4. And this is the pole's 8th lap, so it's been a productive session in terms of mileage.
But, and there's a big but, that he's not as quick in the opening part of this final lap as Rino Mastronardi is. Then Mastronardi doesn't do a brilliant second sector, so Broniszewski about a third of a second down in the opening sector. If he can pick it up in the middle sector, he might have a shot, but I'd say right now it's looking really good for the man currently at the top of the pile of Rino Mastronardi. He's on top, but it's only a 1/10 of a second he's protecting. But and the order swings the other way in that middle sector. They are 1/10 of a second to 1/10 of a second around this final lap of qualifying.
Michel Broniszewski yet to score a pole position. Could this be his first of the season? Pushing like crazy, and as you say, an absolute best for Rino in the first sector. Michael betters it though in the second sector. They're probably level pegging, both now in the third sector. This is their final chance. Will it be improvement for Rino Mastronardi? He's already done a 155.6. Yeah, it's a 155.4. Shaves 2 further 1/10 of a second off it. The Porsche in the background of Niki Leutwiler will finish the session in third, but and Broniszewski's pitting. I was about to say all the question marks regarding the number 74 Kessel Racing Ferrari, but Michel Broniszewski decides he wasn't up to it. That's a strange one, because he'd set a personal best through Sector 1 and an absolute best through Sector 2. What we didn't see was any of Sector 3. Maybe he made a mistake. Peculiar, though, end to the session.
Doesn't he know that drama starts with a capital D? That would have been perfect. The last car on the track
there.
Yeah, well, so Rino Mastronardi takes that checkered flag and the pole position with his final run. 1 minute 55.476 seconds, 3/10 of a second clear of Michel Broniszewski, who parked. I'm sure there's a reason for it. He might have just blotted his copybook towards the end of that final lap, but 2/3 of the way round, he was looking very good indeed to set a time, if not identical, maybe a marginally faster than Mastronardi. But Iron Lynx take pole with their Ferrari. Interesting session. But as much as anything, how many times did the drivers have their fastest laps removed for going wide at turn 7? A lot of them have stories of ifs and buts and maybes.
Yeah, and questions being asked by David Perel, his Broniszewski's South African teammate, as to why that Ferrari didn't cross the finish line to post an even better time potentially. But the pole goes again to Rino Mastronardi. That is 3 in a row. Congratulations to the Italian. And he is quicker than anybody else by 0.341 of a second. Broniszewski pitting, aborting that lap, but still good enough for second. The PZ Oberer Zürichsee by TFT Porsche of Niki Leutwiler will start from third position, ahead of 3 more Ferraris. Claudio Schiavone for Iron Lynx, Murad Sultanov for Kessel Racing, and John Hartshorn also for Kessel. Here's Leutwiler's Porsche. This car to start from the inside of the second row in GT3. Michel Broniszewski showing good speed and great car control at times, really hitting the brakes hard in these GT3 cars. So there is ABS, remember, assisting the driver to an extent. But the number 8 car of Rino Mastronardi, unstoppable to date in qualifying, and that will be the third qualifying session of the season. After this, 2 races to look forward to as part of the Road to Le Mans event during the 24 Hours of Le Mans week. 1 race midweek, 1 race Saturday morning in direct support of the big one over the weekend of the 19th and 20th of September. But it'll be a 2-hour race for these cars and the LMP3s that will be out on track in, 5 minutes or so. 15-minute session again, 18 cars to salivate over in a moment or two, and Duquesne and Ligier are those machines. Some additions, not least the 12 car Team Virage, and Bruce was mentioning earlier on that Julien Falqueiro has made his presence felt with some very good times in free practice. But reflecting on the GT3 category, it was a small but perfectly formed field, and it'll provide some great racing towards the back of the pack a little bit later on. There has been some movement of the timetable through the course of the week. I think the latest is that it's going to be a 2 o'clock affair local time. Let me just check the latest timetable for 2 o'clock, Bruce nodding his head to my right, until 4 p.m. local time. That gives us, 2.5 hours interval then before the European Le Mans Series race, which is a 6:30 start tonight. Obviously through till 10:30 being a 4-hour race, or rather a 2:40-minute race as it's billed for this weekend. Le Castellet 2:40. So the striking pit building here at Ricard, split into two, now is alive to the sound of 5.6-litre Nissan engines. They are Nissan designed, but Orica prepared. And unfortunately, the issue that struck here at Ricard at the end of July regarding that engine's fuel consumption is still very much present. Orica have worked incredibly hard to try and eke out enough fuel consumption so that the engine can be guaranteed to run across a stint. That's probably not going to work, though, for the rest of this season. So we will have that extra stop come the race later today. Right, we need to get some reaction from the GT3 session. So let's join Hayley Edmonds now, chatting to Rino Mastronardi.
Rino, a great start to this third round of Michelin Le Mans Cup. You grabbed the pole in your last run of the qualifications.
It's been a little bit more difficult than the other races. Car was not ready immediately, so I had to push a lot in order to get the right temperature on the tires. But then in the end, the car was quite good, and so here we are again for the third pole position of the year. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so looking very comfortable and confident ahead of the race later today. A new teammate, of course, to get used to. Well, I'd say that. I mean, I suppose there'll be some offering from the new teammate as to driving style, maybe, a little bit of coaching, but most of that probably still coming from Giacomo Piccini. Not here, as his brother isn't either, for family reasons. Hopefully, the Piccini brothers can be back, though, for Le Mans, for the Road to Le Mans event, to continue in their championship challenge, or at least help Rino Mastronardi become GT3 champion, because Giacomo Piccini from this point on will be points behind Rino Mastronardi. That's just circumstances, unfortunately. Daniel Schneider and Andy Merrick's United Autosports LMP3 car number 24 is already in the queue. This is the Ligier, as I say, a mixture of Ligier JS P320s with the Nissan engine, and then the Duqueine M30. Both are brand new cars for 2020. The M30 D08, but they are powered by exactly the same specification of Nissan engine, which has been redesigned and pushes out something like 45 extra brake horsepower, but it is a very thirsty lump. And that's the reason why we're going to have an extra 40-second fuel-only pit stop during the 2-hour race today.
And just to let you know, the pace car was the number 12 Team Virage Ligier, Julien Falchero and Steve Brooks. The first session yesterday, 1 minute, how's this for consistency? 1 minute 49.649 seconds, and then in the night session, 1 minute 49.694, as good as identical. Other cars that went well, the Schneider Merrick United Autosports Ligier, that was second and third fastest. And second fastest in the first session yesterday, John Schaumann, Wayne Boyd for United Autosports. So United Autosports looking good, but Team Virage waving the flag very much as the quickest car on this sort of guest entry. Didn't do the first couple of rounds, here to play and impressing very much indeed. So again, a 15-minute qualifying session. I wonder if we'll have as many lap times deleted for running wide at turn 7. I certainly feel a handful will be going, but they will have watched. They always have to watch the previous session to see just exactly how the stewards are leaping and gather just how wide they can put their right-hand wheels when they pull onto the Mistral straight.
There is a lot of runoff here, and obviously it's quite tempting to push the limit.
Under 1 minute to start LMP3 qualifying session. Under 1 minute to open pit exit.
If we were, for instance, at Imola, you can't do that as much because you'll be in the gravel or in the wall, whereas Ricard, being a high speed test track, it allows that, but of course you can't afford to do it in the race. This is the time to be running wide and pushing the track limits, because although you have lap times deleted, any penalties incurred in qualifying don't lead on into the race. So yes, you may have a very good time taken away from you, and obviously then time becomes very precious in a short session anyway. But there is a little bit of wriggle room, particularly in the early phases of this session. Another Ligier out in the working area on the apron is the sister car to 24 that we saw earlier on. This is the John Schauerman car that will be he'll be qualifying it. Wayne Boyd joining
6,
him.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pit exit is open for LMP3 qualifying session. Pit exit is open for LMP3 qualifying session.
Wayne, a very handy driver to have alongside John Schaumann, having taken 2 pole positions in LMP3 in the European Le Mans Series. He's a real qualification specialist, but not allowed into this session because, again, it's the bronzes and a couple of teams with choices to make. Looking at CD Sport, the number 5 car, both Nick Adcock and Michael Jensen are bronzes, so either or really, and that decision will have been made a good while ago. Patrice Lafargue and Stefan Adler for EDEX Sport. Also, which one of those will it be? Well, we'll give you the answers just as soon as we know. Steadily, this 18-car entry working its way out onto the 5.8 kilometre Circuit Paul Ricard asphalt. And it's a windy day, plenty of cloud cover, but so far no sign of that rain, which is set to sort of be in and out all day really. But this is interesting, a dry qualifying leading into potentially a very slippery race. A spin already for racing experience. Now I was expecting Gary Hauser to be back at the wheel for the number 11 because the Hausers tend to mix and match. It's Yuri Wagner anyway doing the qualifying, but David Wagner racing again, at least on the entry list, after he also appeared at Spa. So I think I'm right saying that. Yuri Wagner.
It is Yuri's on the list. He's
yeah.
down listed as driver 2, but he's competing in the qualifying.
I was just looking at another car and getting very, very confused, but I'm on the right line now. 13 and a half minutes to go, and the first car out looks to be the number 3, DKR Engineering, Jean Gloria and Laurence Heur car, as track temperature is being taken by Team Virage Mechanics. So that was a spin for Wagner right in front of a number of cars.
Well, he counted his way through turns 3, 4 and 5, and obviously got a bit frightened at the prospect of number 6. But again, better do it when you're on your outlap, just get a feel for where the grip is, or more to the point, isn't. But luckily, no contact with the cars behind, and got away with it, I think we can say. So Yuri Wagner continue on his way, and it was at such a low speed point on the track, it should have really done too much mischief to the tyres. But right now, onto the first flying lap we go, and setting the pace. In fact, setting the pace on his outlap is Alexander Matschel, one of the last 2 cars to go out onto the circuit for Rinaldi Racing, and the German driver banged in the fastest first middle sector of anyone, so he's going straight onto the pace. But again, Johnny, 2 of those cars, I think it was one of the United Autosport cars, came out after the others, and they weren't jostling for position, because as we saw, there was a 6-car train that Yuri Wagner spun in front of, but the sensible ones give themselves a bit of space.
It's the number 3 car that leads the championship, by the way, and that car currently has an 18-point lead, so a decent buffer to be leaning on this weekend over the number 37 Cool Racing entry. 37 being driven by Niccolo Malini, and Motorsport 98 are 3rd in the championship, actually equal 3rd. They're both on 26. Motorsport 98 with Eric de Donker at the wheel of that. So DKR Engineering unbeaten championship-wise in the Michelin Le Mans Cup. Remember, LMP3's rather only became eligible for the championship and to score championship points in 2017. But we had 17, 18 and 19 when the Luxembourgish team took victory with different driving lineups. Jean Gloria, well established in DKR, knows the look of this Ducade in the orange and black colours, and is joined by Laurence Heur, who is also racing for that team at the ELMS level. We'll get some meaningful times through just as soon as this car heads through Virage du Lac, where it is now. Virage du Pont is the tricky right-hander to end the lap, and then we'll get an indication of a good time. In the current conditions, can always look back, of course, to earlier on in the year. Let's just take this time, though, as it crosses the line. 152.261. There was a big squirm in the final sector, though, for Jean Glorieux. Jean took pole position back in July at the first go at this race. There's another spin, this time for the United Autosports car of John Schaumann. He'll hopefully get that pointing. He has got it pointing in the right direction, and it rejoins. 149.6 was the pole at the start of the year, so
And that was exactly the lap time that the Team Virage car in the hands of Julian Falcaro did in both of yesterday's practice sessions.
Okay.
So that clearly is the benchmark. So the fastest lap so far, 1 minute 52.2, way down. But looking at the handling around the circuit, it's like they just can't get enough heat into their tyres. Here at the end of August, you still expect a hot day. We just saw United Autosports Garage with Richard Dean thinking, where is the temperature? Wearing a jacket in the pit lane. You don't do that around August in the south of France. So it's going to take a lap or two longer than they might have expected. But at the moment, Jean Gloria, 1 minute 52.2. The next fastest is Rory Penttinen in the graph entry, 153.3. So they're pussyfooting around these opening laps. And already some drivers have lost a time. Car number 11, a lap time has been removed for going wide at turn 5. Car 11 is Yuri Wagner. Of course, that going wide was him spinning off the circuit, one presumes.
Right, so he's also at that time deleted, not that it was going to do him any good. Cool Racing crossing the line now and vaulting up to 4th position, Nicolas Malini for Cool. There are 2 Cool Racing cars circulating more or less nose to tail. Right behind the car with the pink door mirrors is the one with the green mirrors and visor. That's Maurice Smith in number 69, as towards the end of another lap comes Belgian driver Jean Glorieux, and it was a 152.2. He crosses the line at a 151.9, so going in the right direction. Still a little way off, though, the 149 that he got earlier on in the year. Another big wiggle at senior corner, I think, through the very fast right-hander. Zero grip again, and, well, with these cars, you need to go quicker to generate the aerodynamic grip. They don't have a great deal of mechanical grip on their own, but once they go at speed, and obviously that very svelte look of a LMP3, whether it be a Ligier or a Duqueine, forces all of that airflow across the car. That generates the invisible hand that pushes the car further and further onto the asphalt and generates more grip. But they just can't find the top end of that just yet, because the track is very cool, and we've got some crosswind as well, which will be confusing matters even further.
Very, very tiny lines just looking there. Around the circuit, but so many drivers. Again, as you were talking about the amount of downforce, but the tyres are just not yet playing, are they? Certainly the quickest drivers are pushing it closest to the edge, and they're the ones that are discovering the grip they're looking for just isn't there yet. But they've got 8 minutes left in this session, but their time's way down on what they were last night. Just reiterate, 1 minute 49.6 in both of the sessions by Team Virage, but today it's not their race. But of course that time was set by Julian Falcaro. He is the second driver, and the sister driver, the driver in that car, number 12, sorry, is 11th at the moment. That's Steve Brooks. He doesn't have the pace of Falcaro. No disgrace in that, but certainly those times are hard to come by. Now Nicolas Malini goes top for Cool Racing, 1 minute 51.4. We're starting to get the quicker times coming in now.
Motorsport 98, Eric Dodonka and his teammate Dino Lunardi, who we will see in the race, but Dodonka goes 5th with that time, a 153.0, so gets himself a 3rd row start, at least provisionally, and join alongside him Maurice Smith. Still got 7 minutes of the session to go, though. Jean Gloria faster than Nicolas Malini on that lap by 1.5 tenths. So the margins at the sharp end getting narrower and narrower. 151.3, 151.4, 151.7 from Gloria, Molini, and now Rory Penttinen for Graf. That changes again, though, as Maurice Krantz goes over the line. He is down low in the 151s now. 151.1 for Maurice Krantz for Mühlner Motorsport. They're number 21 at Duqueine. One to look out for. Again, a Belgian squad. So Belgium versus Luxembourg in terms of the flags from the teams Mühlner and DKR.
Green, yellow and black. Number 55 really started to pick up the pace a bit. Rinaldi Racing there, Duqueine, but at the moment Alexander Matchell, he is improving on this lap, but he's down in, let's see, way down in 13th position. But this is the car, Rinaldi Racing, of course, years and decades almost, it seems, in GT racing. So this is their toe in the water in prototypes. Alexander Matchell really enjoying it. It goes up to 5th place. Yeah, that looked a much better lap. So he's in the mix. He's a second down on the ultimate pace so far, set by Maurice Krantz. So it's Mühlner Motorsport leading from DKR Engineering and Cool Racing. They're the top 3, but it looks like another good lap's coming from Morlini. He's 3rd at the moment, about to complete the lap.
Always interesting to look at the chassis as well. Which car is doing the better, the Ligier or the Duqueine? You can't really split them. It was 2 Duqueines at the sharp end. Now Nicolas Molini goes even faster in his Ligier. It's a 150.9, the first sub 151 lap time. So Molini, Krantz, Gloria, Rory Penttinen for Graf, Alexander Matchell's 5th fastest, and Daniel Schneider is 6th quickest in the best of the United Autosports cars. But here comes Jean Gloria, not quite to the top. He goes 2nd with a 151.1, and again is a 1.5 tenths away from Molini's Ligier, but 2 of each car now in the top 4.
But just looking at that lap of Gloria, it all went wrong in the final sector. He just couldn't get it turned into turn 14, that really tight right-hander. You could just see the front of the car just wanted to carry on down towards the coast. He managed to wrestle it around the bend, but relative to those around him, that's what cost him provisional pole. Niccolo Molini, 1 minute 50.976 seconds, top of the tree. Jean Gloria, 1 minute 51.1, so he's 0.148 of a second down and only a whisker ahead of Moritz Krantz. So the driver for Mühlner Motorsport fighting back, not yet taking him to the top. And now Jean Gloria's picking up the pace. He's banged in the fastest first sector of anybody. Up the Mistral Straight he goes, but he knows that corner at the far end scene is still really tricky for grip. We've seen him pushing hard and having some twitchy moments up there, but commitment may yet take him to pole. Got time to think about it though. It's a long way up the Mistral.
Yes, it is. And yeah, climbing until you finally pitch the car into the right. Full commitment. Jean Gloria with a pole position already this year. Niccolo Molini with a pole position at Spa. So something's got to give here. Are we going to see it? Are we going to see it go 2-1 in the favour of either of these drivers, or will somebody further down the order grab pole position to make it 3 different poles from the opening races? Curb taken by Gloria, but it was in a controlled fashion there, and that was much more neat and tidy. Virage du Lac, the penultimate left-hander, and now the right-hander of Virage du Pont. 3 minutes 40 seconds left on the clock. Again, squirming as he applies the power, but that was a bit of traction found as the track gets grippier and grippier, and Gloria, well, he would set an absolute best through sector 1, but string them all together, it wasn't an improvement. He came narrowly close to his earlier good time of 151.124, only 0.03 of a second off that, but it wasn't an improvement. So Niccolo Molini staying at the sharp end. Moritz Krantz kind of waiting in the wings to maybe bag a late front row start. Rory Penttinen, don't discount the Finn either for Graf. They only have 1 car entered this weekend. Unlike CD Sport, who are struggling a touch, both of their cars outside of the top 10. Nick Adcock drives a 5. Jacques Wolf actually improves on that very lap. Car 6 up to 14th position now.
Interesting in this session, very few of the drivers being done for track limits. We had Yuri Wagner, but we think that involved him actually spinning the car on that outlap. But that was turn 5. Turn 2 is the corner the drivers are losing their times at, but not many. And in fact, as I say that, the traditional corner, turn 7, the corner onto the Mistral Straight. Unfortunately, the car getting pinged there is number 75, and at the moment that in the hands, it will be all session for Stefan Adler. And in fact, with that time being taken away, he's fallen down to penultimate position, but 16th out of 18, so not been a good session for him, and only just over 2 minutes remaining to make amends.
Maurice Smith feels like, beg your pardon, I thought he was heading for the pits there. So wide was his line into Virage du Pont. He was well right of the blend line. You're allowed to do that as long as you don't then duck the wrong side of the bollard, which decides whether you're going into the pits or not. The blend line only works in one direction. You can't cross it if you're heading to the pits, and equally if you're leaving the pits, you can't go from right to left across that solid white line, but it is crossable in the other direction. 1 minute and 3/4 to go. A little bit of puff of smoke there from, which car is this? The 26 machine from Graf. So 4th position for Rory Penttinen, who does improve, 151.168. Stays where he is though, on the outside of row 2.
But it's just worth reiterating, the top 4 cars, both the front 2 rows, covered by under 1/5 of a second. But importantly, the clock keeps ticking down. Just over a minute to go. Niccolo Molini clear by 0.148 of a second from Jean Gloria. He cannot be confident he'll still be at the top of the charts. Now the pace is really starting to pick up. The drivers in 3rd, 4th and 5th. That's Krantz, Penttinen and Schneider really starting to pick up the pace. They've got to be able to close in, and it's coming right now. That lap from Penttinen just within 0.02 of a second of 3rd place, but still that's in the possession of Moritz Krantz. It keeps on changing.
Yeah, as you say, 2/10 separate the top 4 cars. So how close do you like it? The big gaps come further down the order. Rob Hodes for Nielsen Racing, just working his way through towards Garlabau now at the end of the lap. and he is chasing Alexander Matchell's times. The gap's only 4/10 there in order for Rob Hodes to improve to potentially a third row start. Hodes and Maurice Smith on row 4 as things stand, and Eric de Donker, who's been in and out of the top 6, finds himself 9th, with Tony Wells completing the 10.
Right, going on to what will be the final lap for Nicola Morlini. Unfortunately for him, he's behind the Rinaldi Racing entry with Alexander Matchell. That's about a second down on him in pace. He wants clear track. He's not going to have a chance to get it. So maybe the pendulum is swinging away from Morlini to the driver of number 3, Jean Glorieux, but he's about to complete his he's 2/3 way around his final lap, and unfortunately he has not improved in sector 1 or sector 2. So Morlini, even though he's blocked Johnny, looks though it may come his way. But as I said, top 4 covered by 1/5 of a second. There's nothing in it.
And Rory Penttinen might have really brought one out of the fire there. Very late on indeed for Graf. We watched him cross the line. He set a personal best through sector 1, quicker than anybody else through the final sector. I think Rory Penttinen might have snatched this unless Nicola Morlini can improve. But as you said, he's caught up in traffic and tailing somebody else. Gloria's in the pits. He's not going to improve. Moritz Krantz across the line. No improvement there.
And Morlini has backed off. He's 3 seconds down in the opening sector. Realised it's not for him. So Morlini and Glorieux were first and second, but now with that great lap from Graf and Rory Penttinen, they're second and third.
So it will be 3 different pole sitters from the first 3 races by the looks of things. Little bits of improvement further down the order, but I don't think there's going to be enough there. We might see changes of the 3rd and 4th rows, but Rory Penttinen brilliantly timed that lap, the 40-year-old from Finland. And this is his first season in the Le Mans Cup, having raced in other championships, particularly at the Nürburgring before now, but yeah, really making a stamp on this session. Nicola Morlini, he reckons, really tailed off. He's in the 3rd sector somewhere, but we're not going to see an improvement there. Alexander Matchell yet to cross the line, likewise Maurice Smith, who is finding improvement for Cool Racing. So the 69 car heading into the final sector now. He's due across the line, but cannot improve in the final sector. So the 152.8 will stand as his best lap. And Nicola Morlini, we are still waiting for him to appear. It'll surely be straight to the pit lane, though, for Cool Racing and the pole position man at Spa-Francorchamps. But Rory Penttinen in the car number 26 didn't feature in the top 3 prior to that, I don't think. He was perpetually 4th.
He was 4th, and he was chipping away, and he was, matching his previous time, improving by a few thousandths, and picked it right. But for Nicola Morlini, he must have cursed. He saw that Rinaldi car in front of him, and there was nothing he could do about it. Alexander Matchell still pressing on to try and improve his position. He ended up in 5th overall, but it was shot. But just worth noting, Jean Glorieux, no stranger to pole position. On his in-lap, he was fastest in the 1st sector, fastest of all in the 2nd sector. Then he aborted it. So again, traffic was against what he was trying to do, but Rory Penttinen rules the day for Graf. So it ended up, Johnny, 2 Ligiers from 3 Duquesnes in the top 5 positions.
Yeah, not really dominance from either manufacturer, although Ligier, of course, will have the bigger smiles, blocking out the front row, but across 2 hours, Duquesne can easily match them. And it's very, very tricky to predict indeed. But yeah, big smiles down at Graf for that late run to the pole position. So Rory Penttinen will be joined by Matthias Kaiser. You can see the Kaiser branding on the side of the car. Reminder of the top 3. DKR Engineering, championship leaders, have to start the race from 3rd position after a decent lap from Jean Glorieux, but it was bettered by not 1 but 2 cars. Nicola Morlini will start 2nd, and this car, the Kaiser-backed, Matthias Kaiser that is, back number 26 Graf machine, driven by Rory Penttinen, to start from pole position for round 3 of the season. Great session to watch that. There's always a natural crescendo through those because the bronzes are finding more and more time. Here's confirmation then of how the session panned out eventually. Rory Penttinen, a time of 1 minute 50.909 to take pole position, 67 thousandths of a second quicker than Nicola Morlini, but that all counts to give you a front row and an inside front row start. Jean Glorieux for DKR Engineering starts 3rd alongside Maurice Krantz, and it'll be Alexander Matchell and Daniel Schneider for Rinaldi and United respectively. Rod Hodes will start 7th for Nielsen Racing ahead of Maurice Smith for Cool Racing, Eric de Donker's Motorsport 98 Ligier 9th, and Tony Wells in the number 7 Duquesne for Nielsen will start from 10th position. and outside the top 10. Yuri Wagner may be a little disappointed for racing experience. Christoph Cresp to start from 12th position for MV2S Racing. The 2 CD Sport cars just outside the top 10 as well. So the stage is set for the race later today. It's a 2 o'clock local time. You can do the relevant calculations wherever you are around the world. I think you'll agree it's a big field, and it's set for a very intriguing Michelin Le Mans Cup race. Our second of the season here at Circuit Paul Ricard in Le Castellet, the south of France. There'll be a pit stop, there'll be a driver change, there's that extra stop as well to add some strategy. My thanks to Bruce Jones from Johnny Palmer here at Paul Ricard. Bye-bye for now.